Here we're looking at a sagittal view of the male reproductive anatomy. This is actually a model that we have in the lab. So on here you can see, okay, this is the testes. So remember, the testes is the primary reproductive organ for the male reproductive system. And everything else, all the ducts and glands, are considered to be accessory organs. So the gonads, the testes in the male, are going to be the primary reproductive organ, because the testes produce sperm and produce the sex hormones associated with the male reproductive system. So leaving the testes, the first location where the immature sperm go will be into the epididymis. So you can barely see the epididymis here. It's still covered with skin in this model. The epididymis surrounds the testes. So immature sperm will go into the epididymis, and they'll stay there, and as they move through the duct system of the epididymis, that's where the sperm will mature and become viable, where they're more likely to fertilize an egg. From the epididymis, the sperm will enter into the vas deferens. So you can see, or the ductus deferens, same thing. Ductus deferens, vas deferens, it's the same thing. So the vas deferens, remember, it is one of the structures that's found in the spermatic cord, along with arteries and the venous plexus, as well as nerves, are located in the spermatic cord. But you have the vas deferens here that will enter into the abdominopelvic cavity through the spermatic cord, okay? And it actually will go around posteriorly. It'll go behind this is the urinary bladder. So the vas deferens goes all the way behind the urinary bladder until it reaches this area that's referred to as the ejaculatory duct. So this would actually be the ejaculatory duct. And I'm going to switch to a diagram where the image may be a little bit more clearer. Image that may be a little bit clearer. And so when you look at this, it looks like the vas deferens is going through the bladder. That is not the case. So remember, you have or if you're a male, you have a left and a right testes. And so you're going to have a vas deferens or ductus deferens that will go on both the left and the right side. But it'll go basically behind the bladder, so it does not go through the bladder. It will go behind the bladder, and then it will enter into the ejaculatory duct. So you can see the ejaculatory duct here. This structure that's surrounding the urethra that's coming from the bladder, as well as the ejaculatory duct, that is the prostate gland. So the prostate gland will surround the ejaculatory duct, and then part of the urethra that is referred to as the prostatic urethra. And you do need to know the different regions of the urethra. So there's three regions. You have the prostatic urethra that is leaving the urinary bladder and will merge with the ejaculatory duct. So this is where the sperm that's coming from the vas deferens will be when the male is aroused, and when he ejaculates, the sperm will go from the ejaculatory duct into the prostatic urethra. Also notice here that you have one of the glands, the seminal vesicle. The seminal vesicle will also empty its contents into the ejaculatory duct. So when the male ejaculates, he will ejaculate both the sperm and the contents of what was from the seminal vesicle, as well as the secretion from the prostate gland. All of those things will be secreted into the ejaculatory duct, and then will when the male ejaculates, will be ejaculated into the prostatic urethra. Okay, I should say, instead of being ejaculated in the ejaculatory duct, it enters in. It's ejaculated from the ejaculatory duct. Okay, so we have the ejaculatory duct, we have the prostate gland, we have the seminal vesicle, and then you have the prostatic urethra here. And then the next part of the urethra is referred to as the membranous urethra, and I don't think it is indicated specifically on this image here, but the membranous urethra is the part of the urethra. So after the urethra leaves the prostate gland, so it's surrounded by the prostate gland. So after the urethra leaves the prostate gland and before it goes into the shaft of the penis, that is referred to as the membranous urethra. Okay, and then when the urethra is in the penis, in the shaft of the penis, is referred to as the spongy urethra. So those are the three regions of the urethra. Okay. Under the penis, on the objectives, it asks you for the root of the penis, the shaft of the penis, and the glans penis, and the prepuce, or the foreskin. So we'll look at those things. So the root of the penis is basically where the penis is attached to the body of the male. And then the shaft of the penis is the longest part of the penis. So the portion between the root and then the tip of the penis is referred to as the glans penis. That is the shaft of the penis. And that's where the spongy urethra is going through the shaft of the penis. And then the glans penis is the tip of the penis. That's the glans penis. And it's covered by a thin skin called the prepuce or the foreskin. And, you know, a lot of children are circumcised, or a lot of male children, when they're born, they're circumcised, and that is where that foreskin is removed. So the areas of the penis, also associated with the penis, we have the erectile tissue. I'm going to move to a different slide to show you the erectile tissues because they're not labeled on this image. Before I move on to another slide, though, I want to point out the bulbourethral gland here. So you have the bulbourethral gland that will secrete its secretion into the membranous urethra. So you have three glands. You have the seminal vesicle, you have the prostate gland, and then you have the bulbourethral gland. All three secretions, along with the sperm from the testes, that's what makes up the entire contents of the ejaculate. And you will learn about the functions of each of those secretions. You should learn that in the lecture portion. I'm not going to go over what the secretion from the prostate gland does and all that kind of stuff. But just know that the ejaculate contains all four of those things, the secretions from each of the three glands along with the sperm. On this slide, you can see the erectile tissue. So on this portion of the penis, and this would actually be considered the dorsal portion, and this is in reference to the penis when it is erect. We have the corpus cavernosum on the dorsal surface of the, and really this is singular, corpus cavernosa, but you actually have, this is paired. So there's three columns of erectile tissue. There's two corpora, is plural, corpora cavernosa. You're only seeing one in this image, but this is the dorsal erectile tissue, or one of them anyway in this image. And then we have a single corpus spongiosum that surrounds the spongy urethra. So the erectile tissues, when the male is aroused, blood will, there's spaces in this erectile tissue, and blood will fill up in those spaces, and that's what will make the penis erect. So again, you have a paired corpora cavernosa on the dorsal surface, two of them, and then a single corpus spongiosum that will surround the spongy urethra. So remember, spongiosum surrounds the spongy urethra.